Hey everyone, it's David here. I want to talk to you briefly about script, about cold calling, and I want to give you some good advice with script. I'm going to give you a couple key points to talk about. But before I do that, before I get into that, do me a favor. If you've not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click subscribe. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed, and click the notification link. I do give out prizes. I do have lucky winners. I would love for you to be one of them. All right, so let's go ahead and talk today about script. So first of all, let's look at what script is. Script should be where you're using something as a dialogue. You're using it as a technique to call somebody and tell them that they have funds that they didn't know they had. So when someone picks up the phone and they say hello, you have, in my opinion, less than 5 seconds to be able to sell them if they're going to do business or hang up. Some people are going to hang up regardless. Some people won't answer the phone. By the way, a couple Mondays ago on my live calls within the community, I had a guy who hung up on me. I actually ended up getting a deal because I called him right back. So just a little brief pointer that I thought I would mention. But you're coming up with the story. So you've got to tell somebody a story that they have funds that they don't know they have. It's either through a foreclosure, a tax auction, it's maybe they have unclaimed funds at the state level, or maybe it's that they have unclaimed bankruptcy funds. So they either have unclaimed funds or they have surplus funds. And if you don't know the difference, unclaimed funds, like I said, are at the state level of the bankruptcy. You've paid some extra money into bankruptcy, or you switch courts or switch cases and you have money coming back, or a creditor never collected and they went out of business or something and no one bought their debt. You might have money coming back. That would be unclaimed funds you have from bankruptcy. Maybe you had an inheritance you didn't know about. This happens all the time. Maybe there's something at the state level. You worked for a company, you had a 401k that you forgot about, you moved, you had that one Roth IRA that you forgot all about, or you had a life insurance policy. That would be unclaimed funds, because after a certain time they typically get turned into a estate. A surplus fund would be if you have a mortgage overage that went for $100,000 over the asking and there's no claims on that, and that money goes back to you. That would be a surplus fund. And more and more, like I know Michigan recently just lost a court case because they were not giving overages for tax auctions back to the homeowners, and they got taken to court, and the court found them in favor of the former homeowners getting the funds back, because that's where they should go. And I know New York, and I think it was New Jersey, a few of the other states were kind of doing the same. They had suits, and last I heard, they were actually making it where the claims would start going to the homeowners. But so you have surplus funds. So you're calling somebody, okay, and you have this script. Why should you know your script? I mean, why even have anything at all? Well, if someone calls me up and says, "Hi, David, how are you doing?" I'm going to hang up on you. Click. I don't want to talk to you. Why should I talk to you? Why should I give you the time of day? What I always do with the intro is I say, "Hi, this is David Church trying to reach John Smith," and I pause. Pausing is huge. And someone will usually go, "Yeah, this is John." And I'll say, and if it's on my Monday calls, I usually say, "John, this is, I'm calling you from JD Vista on a recorded line." And then I get right to the point, directly to the point. Now, are you going to read to them, or are you going to know your script? Are you going to be grounded in your script? And my point number one is you've got to be grounded in your script, okay? Because if I feel like someone's reading to me, I'm going to hang up. If I think they're overseas, I'm going to hang up. If I hear the word Social Security, I did have, and my wife gets mad at me when I do this, but I did have someone call me the other day and tell me how they give me a better credit card, and I could tell it was totally overseas, and how my accounts were all at a huge balance. And I'm playing with the guy, and I'm like, okay. Let's keep on talking here, and what can you do and everything. And then we're right there, and he said, "Is this something you want to do?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But you're telling me my high credit card balances." I go, "What credit cards are you talking about?" And the guy said, "Well, I'm talking about all your credit cards combined." I said, "Well, I have zero balances on all my credit cards." I said, "So can you tell me which ones are you talking about?" And it was just an instant click, and my wife's like, "You're so bad." But you know, it's just like you're competing with that. You're competing with people that are calling, trying to get cold business. Now, in a way, you're trying to get cold business, so it is cold calling, but you're calling with some good news, but you have to convince people that you're the real deal, and you have to be grounded. And I say being grounded because you don't want to sound like you're reading to them. The second point, which goes right with the first point, is you need to know it. When you're grounded, you need to know it. Why? Because I have people say, "Okay, what do you want?" Well, that's going to change my direction. Then how did you get my info? What can you do for me? I mean, I get all those questions, or why are you calling me? Why are you choosing to call me on this? Why isn't the state calling me? Why isn't the county calling me? Why are you calling me? Well, if you can't answer that question and you're reading, you're going to be in huge trouble. So you need to be grounded, and you need to know it. And you need to be ready to go in any order. And the best thing you could do, and I say this repeatedly, is find someone who's a like-minded entrepreneur. Like if you're in the Warrior community, get on the Facebook group. We have Thursday calls where you can practice your script. Practice your script with people and have them give you a hard time. Have that easy one and have them give you a hard time. And I always say, like, when you get your first deal, start off small, because if you need to learn the process. And I say this like A few weeks ago, actually it's a couple months ago now, I had someone do their first deal. And this, he could have gone after the notary 100%. And I don't think he did. The notary did not get the person to sign. They stamped it. They did everything they were supposed to do. So when he turned the forms in the county, $30,000, and he was getting 30% of that. So it was actually just over 30. He had just over $9,000 coming to $9,000. And the county sent him an information. They highlighted that where the signature went. He had contacted me and said, "What does this mean?" And I'm like, ouch, this was his first deal. He has not gotten his clients re-signed. Now, I do have a woman in Georgia, and she actually had a small deal. I've mentioned her quite a bit, but on her first deal, there was a mistake within the contract. Her clients re-signed it. It happens. But I would rather see you blow $1,000 or under than blow $10,000 and see it lost. Because if he had done this a couple times before at a small amount, he would have realized that, okay? But you have to know your script. You have to memorize it. You have to say it. And you have to, I still get questions that I am not ready for, that I've never answered before, I should say. And I have to be ready for it. I'm ready for it, but I haven't answered. And it's like, okay, wow, where did that come from? I get questions like, okay, I was married to the person with the funds. She had no kids. I have a daughter. Or there was a daughter. Does it go to, I am the daughter, I'm the son, or whatever. Can it go to me? Well, it's interesting because I'm working a case in California right now where I have funds at the state level where it is going to her kids. He had no kids. His brother tried to put in a claim, and his brother vented to me on the phone. I thought, okay, I'm going to get a hold of her. And he goes, it goes to her kids. So I'm going to call her kids. I have another state where, I think it's in Texas, I have a lawyer working, and the step parents' kids got denied, and it's going to a blood relative. And it all depends on the state that you're working. You have to be ready. If I don't know a question, I'll say, you know what? I deal with cases all the time. I haven't dealt with that situation quite like that. Let me read up on this and get right back to you. 99.9% of the time I've ever said that. In fact, I don't think in one case I've ever said that to someone and they've not been okay. Then I tell them what I can do. Then I'm trying to sell myself, and I'm trying to say, so what we do is we're a California corporation. We will go ahead and we will get you paid, and here's our protocol for getting you paid, and most people are good with that. And the last one, and the huge one is, and I said this with 1 and 2, so these all three complement each other, is you don't want to be reading. You're calling somebody and you're giving them a story, trying to entertain them to get your point of sale. Now, here's the biggest tip of all. So I've given you 3 points. Get grounded, know it, and don't read, which all three of those complement each other. I could have probably put all three of those in one, but I just see this all the time. Script is a story that you're telling someone. You need to be familiar with the story, and you need to be familiar with the process. Yeah, this is David Church calling John Smith. John, did you know that you had an overage from the auction at 123 Main Street? It went for over the asking price. I paused. And the other day, one guy said, we're not interested. And I said, so I told him, I said, okay, so I could feel the wind of the phone just going. I said, do you know about this money? And then he got back on the phone and he said, yeah, I've hired an attorney to represent me. And I said, okay, great. That's all I need to know. Now, a lot of times they'll say, hey, do you mind if I call you in 4 months? And this guy was just, I could tell, again, you have to go with your gut. I could tell that I couldn't say that with him, but I will often say that to people to get these. And guys, this is like, these are real deals I'm getting. I don't have a secret little sauce that I'm hiding for anybody or, you know, click this or do that, you know. These are actual conversations that I have with people, and these are actual real deals that I have with people. But you need to be able to give the story, give the dialogue, and you need to be able to sell yourself and do what you say you can do. And the biggest tip of all is most of my deals are not done on the first phone call. I either have to follow up with a phone call, they get off and they say they're working on it. Sometimes I'll put it in my CRM and I'll go a few months later, and then I'll go and I'll see if it's still there. And if it's still there, I'll call them back and I'll say, hey, I talked to you a couple months ago. Can I ask you what's going on here? We've been talking for a while and what's happening there. So anyway, hope this helps with your script. So again, you're giving a story, you're telling a line, and you're trying to convince somebody that they have funds that they didn't know they had. And I've seen people start up, most of the people that I see that start this business and are successful, not all of them, but most of them start off small and they work their way up the ladder, and they gradually get larger and larger in the business by getting bigger and bigger deals. And then they know the sweet spot. Like for me, for a long time, I would work $800 payouts where it would be like an $8,000 deal, I'd get 10%, or it would be, you know, a little bit like a tax overage and I'd get 30%, which it would end up being like $800 to $1,000. And I was okay with that because I would try to do 4 or 5 of those a month. You're talking anywhere around $4 to $5 grand, anywhere from $3,200 to $5,000 if you do that. And that's actually a pretty good payday if you're doing that consistently. But you've got to find your sweet spot in the business. And as you do that and develop that, you want to start off small. small. Then work the big deals with the small deals. And by the way, you will have competition with the big deals. But like I called a woman a couple weeks ago, and you probably saw this, I've had this on some of the testimonials. The property belonged to her late husband. She knew about the property, but never really, she saw it once or twice, but never really saw any of the legal parts of it or anything like that. She moved out of state, and she, I found her, and she's like, yeah, I knew about the property. I knew there were, she said it has tax liens. I'm like, well, here's the thing, ma'am. Yeah, the tax liens have got bid, and they went for over the asking price, $18,000 over the asking price that you have sitting for you, waiting for you right now. With your permission, I help people in your situation. My first notary flaked for her. She was in a rural area, and communication was vital. In fact, when the notary came time to get her the notary, and she had seen the contracts, she kind of froze. And again, she's like, well, do I have to pay any money? What happens if there's no money? And I said, ma'am, right here on this line, if no money's collected, you owe nothing. I said, it says that right there. You know, so I made that very clear to her. She was good with that. She was okay with that, and she went forward with the other notary. Actually, the two notaries canceled because of her area, and then I found one guy that was pretty decent, and he's like, hey, if you ever need me again, please use my info. I looked you up and I know who you are, which is flattering. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that. The thing is the chances of someone having a property in Florida moving to rural Indiana is like less than 5%, if even that high. I probably won't need your services again, but if I do, I have your info. And you know, it's kind of sad when you have to say that to somebody. I mean, he did a great job, but I told him I'd endorse him or whatever with the review or what have you. So anyway, I hope this helps. So script and the importance of script and knowing script. I would practice it. I would say it to yourself. I would practice it with another business partner. And again, I could give a whole nother video. When you go into business, people around you tend to be negative and they tend to be weird, okay? And when you work on your script, don't go up to someone that you know that's worked their whole life and say, hey, by the way, I'm doing this business. I mean, use your gut there, like I always say, but I know for me, like my colleagues and stuff when I was working, they were all weird when they knew I'd go into business. When I went into business and when I started working things, I mean, I've said this before, but you go in and you talk about kids and teaching and stuff like that. You go in and sit at a table and everyone gets quiet and they look at you and it just gets way different and you're out there. So you've got to find people that can relate to you. And there's a million different groups out there, businesses, entrepreneurs. Just work on this and get used to it. I am going to say the last thing, and I know I've said a lot in this video. Really appreciate your time. The very last thing I'm going to say in this video, if I haven't said that already, most of the people that I know that are successful build their own business. Meaning, like I have a guy right now in the Midwest. He's built unclaimed funds off of a company that did crowdfunding. There's over 30,000 of these. There's a group of them. They all got consolidated into this one bunch of leads. And he just got his first deal. It was 30,000. He's getting 30% of that. So he's getting $9,000. And he's picking up some other deals and he's in our program. And he called me up and he's like, hey, I found these unclaimed funds. They're not at the state level. They're not at this level. And I keep things confidential. And I'm like, okay, go and show me. And I'm like, dude, I would so call up and work on this. And it was like a gold mine that he hit. I've had many of those stories that have been awesome. Most of the people that I know that have been successful find their niche. They work it. They do trial and error. What happens if you mess up with a small lead? Big deal. Learn from it. Grab it. Go on to the next one. Big deal. You mess up. Big deal. Go on to find the next one and do the next one right. But do it with the $400 or $500 commission and not a $10,000 commission or a $9,000 commission because it hurts. I mean, I would hurt if I lost 10 grand because I didn't get a signature or something on a property. Start off small and work your way up. Hey everyone, I want to thank you for watching this video. Do me a favor, if you like it, give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't, right down below, and click the notification link. If you're one of my lucky winners, you will be notified. Hey everyone, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.